And the first item on the budget session is the Lake Region Heritage Center. If Lisa would please come forward and bring your magnifying glass with you.
I don't normally have to wear the readers.
Okay.
But I am sorry about that. I did try to get that bigger, and I'm not computer literate, and it's quite obvious. And I didn't have the projected numbers, but Spencer, with his great number knowledge, did tell me them earlier. And so this was based on 2024, but the tax, the mills went up a little bit. So they were higher, 42.
Yeah, $42,000, $42,070 would be the total between the 1.5 million and the 7,500 for the
Yep.
part-time.
So that helps a lot. I'm not asking for any additional than you have given in the past. And without the city funds, you guys know, when I come up here and update you, without city and county funds, we would have a problem. So I always appreciate the city. And with the Art Center, which has been really beneficial in getting foot traffic into the museum. I didn't know how much that was going to help, but it has. It's been really busy over at the museum. But so it's been hand in hand. So yeah, I'm not asking for anything additional. The cameras have been a great help this year too. Just yesterday, I had some hoodlums in the museum, and I was watching the cameras and got them out of trouble. So kicked them out of the museum. Anyway, so I don't have anything else to update. The roof has been mostly stable. Boiler has not done anything crazy. No, we haven't had any updates. Any repairs on that. I did get a $10,000 donation from Lynn Hohag again this fall. We're doing a financial institution room, and he liked what he saw, what we're working on. So he gave us another $10,000, which was wonderful. And so that was just about a month ago. So I would entertain any questions.
Any commissioners have any?
Who's the addition of part-time employee? Is that the one that's been working there? Or?
Yes. Yep. And she's been wonderful. And then we also have Maddie. We have Val Sampson with AmeriCorps, who, she has paid very little through just a little bit of funds for us, but she's been wonderful also. But Caitlin's been a huge help. Because then I can run over to the Art Center a lot too. But yeah. And Caitlin did graduate with her master's in museum studies, and she works out at camp too. So, but
Funding for the art is coming through your
it
area
isn't
center?
on here.
But it's not.
Yeah.
Is it mostly donations for that's taking care of that?
Well, obviously the rent, and then
Yeah.
another, 5,000 or up to 20,000 a year for utilities. And then because the Wi-Fi and Ottertail is above and beyond that, it looks like it's going to be another $7,500 that we'll have to pay. And then I have a 2-studio that we are hoping to rent. I did get one that we rented. And so with the Art Fest, with classes, and with merchandise sales and art sales, I think we're going to be flush and hopefully making money next year. So hopefully our budget will show next year. We'll have an art center budget, and we'll see a revenue there.
Wonderful.
I just don't have those numbers, and it's just too new.
Any other questions?
Is the Chamber doing much for advertisement for the Art Center in their stuff? Are they doing?
Yeah, when I submit it, they do. And then everything, like this holiday, we're going to have a big holiday thing, and a lot of it will be through the Art Center. The beer crawl, we had the hub at the Art Center. Yeah, the Chamber's done a lot through the Art Center. And I'm on that board, so I kind of force that. But that's okay.
I just want to make sure everybody's.
Yep,
getting
yep,
the
they're
office
all,
needed.
everybody is in the loop, and I've had, nothing but, great comments about the Art Center,
Yeah, I've
and,
heard
yeah, right
nothing
now,
bad.
yeah, and I appreciate, like I said, I appreciate the city's, willingness to go for that, and right now, we have an exhibition that is 100%, Heritage Center things, so, and it's all handmade, so it does fit into the arts, but it's funny to see, it's not funny, it's beautiful to see how they look different in a different setting. So, yeah, if you have a chance, go at least walk by and look in the front window. It's really interesting. So, yeah. Cool.
Well,
Okay.
good
Thank
job,
you
Lisa.
for having me.
You bet, thank you. Okay. Next one is the Lake Region Public Library, and that would be Maddie.
Good morning, good
Good
morning.
morning.
Okay. My name is Maddie Cummings. I'm the library director at the Lake Region Public Library. And much like Lisa, I would like to echo that obviously the largest majority of our funding comes from the city and the county. And so we have presented a 4 mil cap from the county already to Ramsey County, and then we are presenting 5.66 mils from the city for 2025. The reason, which is actually technically fewer mills than we had last year, but obviously everything increased. So the big reason for this change, for this increase in funding that we're requesting, is because I'm once again trying to establish the children's librarian position as a full-time employee. So most of what has changed on my budget, it has to do with salaries and allocations for salaries. You can see on the third page what I had proposed for salaries in 2024. Our HVAC system went out, had to pay for that, obviously. That is very important. It's very comfortable in the library nowadays, though. Come stop by. It's nice and cool. And so we put this off for another year. And so here we are trying to get it established in 2025. So I've sketched out some numbers and what I think that our proposed salary level would be. And even from where we're projected this year, because we had some changes in staff and negotiated raises and things like that, our proposed salaries for 2025 are just barely over what our projected salaries are in 2024 by just a couple $1,000s. However, it looks big in the overall scheme of our budget. So the reason why I believe the children's librarian position should be full-time is because, well, I have a lot of numbers here that are going to speak for themselves, but the thing that I have heard most since living here, because I'm not from Devil's Lake, right? I came in 2020, which obviously was a crazy time. But the thing that I hear and that I see over and over again is, what is there to engage with our youth, right? That was the whole impetus behind Dockside, which I think has been amazing. The library is completely free, right? Any child, adult, anyone, regardless of socioeconomic status, of housing status, of anything else, is more than welcome to come in, use our facilities, attend our programs, have that enrichment in addition to basic human services. And so when it comes to serving the youth of the region, excuse me, if we look at 2023 and we're just thinking about programs, so these are official programs that we offered for ages 18 or under 18, excuse me. There were 138 programs that we offered in 2023 with 1,900 people attending. That was with a part-time 29-hour-a-week children's librarian. And this year, we are incredibly fortunate to have a circulation assistant who is so talented and passionate and willing to go above and beyond. And she saw that there was a need for somebody to be in the children's library for more than 4 days a week, 3.5. And she stepped up and started offering story time over the summer, which has been once a week for the summer. So far, halfway through 2024, we've offered 128 youth programs with 1,756 attendees. So we're expecting our overall number, obviously, to be much, much higher by the end of the year. Of those attendees, 178 of them are because of Sam. They are because of our circulation assistant who stepped up, said, I see a need for our children to be able to go to preschool story time and for our parents to bring their kids in to establish this level of learning and reading and literacy. And so that is 10% of all of the youth attendees that we have had at our programs this year have been due to the addition of a children's librarian an extra day a week. And because of that, our circulation has gone up. Our total circulation last year, we had just physical books in the library, not games, not movies, not anything else, not ebooks, not audiobooks. We circulated over 12,000 children's materials, which made up 62% of our circulation for the year. This year, we've already circulated almost 9,000 books, which is making up 70% of our circulation statistics for the entire library. So the children are using the library, right? And we want to encourage that. We want to push that. So we also recognize that money is scary and there are unknowns when it comes to hiring and turnover and things like that. So this budget is proposed as if all 3 full-time positions, being myself, the library director, the assistant library director, and the children's librarian, it's based on all 3 of those individuals having a single person health insurance plan. If something were to happen and 1, 2, all 3 of these positions needed to go on a full family health plan and therefore obviously blow this $35,000 line item out of the water, we have a structure in place that we will be able to finish out the fiscal year between reserves, external funding, et cetera, and then have that time to assess, to shuffle staff, to shuffle money as needed. We are also planning to make the children's librarian a contract position, much like a teacher's contract that says it's based upon renewal based upon performance and fund availability. And I am greatly anticipating that we will have someone who is able to write grants for the children's library specifically, because so far it's been me. And there are many more things out there that have not been utilized by our staff that I am very confident can go our way. So with the board approval, this is our proposed budget for 2025 with 3 full-time humans and then 2 part-time, which would equate to approximately 1.5 FTE.
Does this all fit into the mills that we're authorizing?
Yes. Yes. Everything as it stands does. Again, if something were to change sometime in the fiscal year of 2025, reevaluations would have to happen. We do have a plan for that. We have structures in place. We will not just have to find money out of nowhere. We will.
Do you have a backup plan in case the property tax?
Sure don't. Sure don't. Neither does any public library in the state. So please vote no. Yep. That will be very scary if that happens. So.
Spencer, you got any questions on this? You had discussions with Maddie and.
Maddie and I had a conversation before this, and I think it's just important to draw some of the lines of just, where decision-making lies, right? So you guys are authorizing mills, basically cutting the check. Library board is a because the county levies mills too, it's a shared governance board, right? And so at the end of the day, the library board makes those policy decisions for the library, obviously with heavy influence from the city and the county in that regard. And Maddie and I, we had a frank conversation on the whole health insurance thing, and that's 3 full-time employees. And right now, if you have 3 full-time employees and they have a single health insurance plan, yes, $35,000 is a number, but there's a very real reality where you have 2 people that are on a family plan or 3 people on a family plan, and now your health insurance line item is $70,000. Mm-hmm. The county is levying their max of 4 mills. The city is very near their max of 6. There's no other cards to play as far as raising revenue. And if you have an employee and they have a full health insurance plan and they're a full-time employee, And it's like, well, we don't have the money. So now then you have to let go of an employee who is on a full health insurance plan, which kind of means that the job's important to them and that their family's depending on it. And so having to reassess that and letting people go is very painful. So I feel like the library board, if they pursue this, is openly leaving their flank open to a future 2-3 years down the road where the budget might not be as rosy as this. And instead of making $5,000 a year, it'd be going back there.
I do appreciate that very, very much. We also receive state aid from the North Dakota State Library that is very much dependent on the staff, services, and expenses that we incur and that we offer. So for example, our forecast under 33,600, which is a state grant reimbursement, the forecast for 7,200 this year, we received just shy of $20,000 because of all the extra services and programs that we're offering. And having those extra staff members and those staff expenses is heavily factored into the equation in which they use to dole out those funds. And so I can't tell you for sure what anything is going to be, and that is very true. And but I would assume, based on how things have gone in my conversations with the state library finance director, that there would be more funding coming in from the state as well.
What are their mills? What's their mill at right now?
5.66.
Well,
Or
so
is it
for this budget, in the
6?
effort to try and balance the city's needs in its general fund, what the library has as far as needs in their communicated budget, the 5.66, levying that to the library, which is, in excess of the county's 4. Substantially, right?
They're right now they're at 6.
For
Last year's-
2024,
Last year's they were 6,
Yeah.
because we saw growth in the mill in the effort
Yeah.
to try to keep the mills flat or
Mhm.
see a slight reduction. 5.66 was the number.
That is just making sure.
And so-
Yep.
And so if here's the thing, if the library board wants to pursue the full-time employee, right, that's their decision to make. We have a city commission representative, the county commission has representation on there. We do their books, right, so we're very integrated with each other. But the piece of it that needs to be understood is, I would implore the library board to not do it, but if they choose to do it, there are unintended consequences down the road, and they're leaving their flank open. And I feel like I wouldn't be doing my job if I didn't say that. So, but at the end of the day, you're proving mills is really what.
Yeah. Okay, any questions? Well, thank you, Maddie.
Thank you very
Appreciate your
much.
time.
I have a board member here.
Oh,
Is
okay.
he able to speak on
Sure.
our behalf as well?
Yep. Here we go. Yep.
Thank you so much. My name is Daniel Howell. I am one of the assistant state's attorneys for Ramsey County. I have been on the board of the libraries almost since I moved here from Texas in 2021. Maybe it was in 2022. But the library has come a long way in the last 3 to 4 years.
Mhm.
I think everybody here is aware of what Maddie picked up and what she has been able to do with that since the whole fiasco with the former directors and that mess. She has done a fantastic job of pulling up state funding. She has applied for grants. I would guess at this point that she's probably covered her own salary over the last couple of years just in applying for grants. This full-time position for a children's librarian has far-reaching consequences, more than budget, more than what the city has to account for, more than what the county has to account for. If we have our children in these programs and learning and engaging in community, I see them less in the courtroom. The city sees them less in the city's courtroom. This saves money in the long term, and there are risks in having budgets overdrawn. I believe we have a reserve fund that will cover those things. We also have grants and sources of funding that we would not have access to. We would not have had access to and will not have access to until Maddie has completed the procedural renovations, for lack of a better phrase at the moment, and getting the library sorted out and in compliance with government funding requirements and all those sorts of things. The summer reading program for youth has given children the opportunity to hear music and see animals that they have never seen before and would never see here in Devils Lake, North Dakota, based on how many are able to travel outside of the area. Maddie and all of her effort has brought so much opportunity to not only children, but to adults as well, to have access to information, to education, to programs. My understanding is that the board will continue to pursue trying to get this full-time position granted. And the contract structure that Maddie mentioned of having it be for 1 year, and if it doesn't work in our budget for the next year, that can easily be amended. The risk of having 3 people go on family medical is always a governmental risk. Government isn't about making money. Government is about supporting the community that you're elected to support. And I don't think that shying away from spending money is what government is about. Government isn't a money-making business, and supporting the community costs money. And I don't believe that there is any real risk in the next fiscal year for this to be granted, for the position to move forward. And if it's not a good idea, that's the point of the contract, is so that we can reassess in a year to basically close the door before we even have a chance to see what it looks like in practice. I believe would limit the progress that the library is on track to make over the next several years, as the amount of people, adults and children, coming in the door continues to rise month over month, year over year. Thank you so much for your time, and have a great day.
Well, thank you for the extra knowledge about, I know Maddie's done a great job. I've heard a lot of good things, and I know it's been, but I think you're authorized to hire it, but there's risks involved in it. So those are the ones that the board's going to have to be, whether you're accepting those risks. But we're saying here probably is that we don't have the ability to hand you any more money. But so if you're the board's willingly to accept those risks, you basically have the ability to do so.
Understood. And just so I'm clear, the city does have more money to allocate. Currently, it's at 5.66, and the statutory limit
Could go
is
up to the 6, but
$8,000, right? But $8,000 between what could potentially be a $30,000 difference with different staffing, right? Different people, right?
Sure.
Different health insurance plans. There's not that many more cards to play, is all, in reality.
Not from the city side of things, but as stated previously, the amount of grant money that the library has been awarded is astronomical compared to previous years. And the amount coming in is hard to keep track of.
Yeah.
But I won't take up any more of the
But
commission's
I'm
time.
guessing if you can get that grant money and you can offset the costs, it's like, that's a wonderful thing.
Yeah.
This year alone, we've gotten $55,000 in grants. For various initiatives and things. And so the money is there. We just need someone who can put it into practice.
Right.
and apply it.
Thank you so much. Have
Thank
a great day.
And welcome to the Devil's Lake too, by the way.
Thank you very much. Happy to be here. Just bought my first home, so that property tax issue.
Yeah,
Thank you so much. Have a great day.
okay, thank you.
Thank you.
Okay. Next one is the Devils Lake Regional Airport, and is it Scott or Dennis and Scott or?
And they always seem to tag team it, so.
Two heads makes one brain.
I didn't say that.
Sometimes.
Okay, you guys have a copy of the budget, I guess. If you look on the last page, you can see we're gonna be coming up about $100,000 short this year. And that's kind of due to losing a couple mills for this ARF mission. I guess it was $20,000 that we were getting in lot fees that will go away. So that's a big part of it. Our expenses, I expect our electric bill and our heat bill with our double-sized terminal to increase. I don't know how much, but that's a guessing game at this point. Our regular light bills right now in the summertime have pretty much doubled over what they were before. So I'm expecting similar results for the heat bill this winter. So those expenses are gonna be up a little bit. We're hoping to redo the contracts for the terminal lease with SkyWest, get that increased a little bit. Maybe increase the landing fees, and we probably can get a little more out of the TSA because of the larger square footage that they have out there now. But we're in the same boat as everybody else. We don't have a lot of revenue sources out there, or, chances to increase our revenue. The grants we get, unfortunately, are normally for airport improvement and can't be used for operations. So I guess if anybody's got questions, let me know.
Anybody have anything to ask?
It's just still disheartening to see the prices of everything going up, but not the money coming in. It's.
I could say one thing. One of the things I was thinking about the other day when we were going over some of these numbers, we've been getting by on 4 mills ever since I've been on the board, and I've been on the board 16 years. In that time, expenses have gone up exponentially. Look at the money that we went through on our new terminal, where we were supposed to do 5 projects. We barely got 1 done. And because of the size increase with our terminal, because it being a modern facility with the jet bridge, our passenger loads are increasing. And that's a great thing for our airport. But at the other side of that token, the costs are going to go up too, because the buildings see more use. So somewhere down in the road, we were lucky in some of our grant work. Somewhere down the road, we're going to have to figure out to generate more income. We've discussed a passenger boarding fee. We haven't quite hit that threshold yet where that's feasible to do. I just don't know what else we can do to come up with more money. We're giving up a full-time to the fire department, obviously, to take over some of the off duties. But when you look at the report and you look at what we're getting from the city and from the county, and we're running an airport the size that we're running for the kind of money we're getting, and besides the allotments we're getting from our leases, it's not very much. So I guess I would think somewhere down the road, we're going to have to come up with another way to generate some income, because we're usually close to being in the hole, if not in the hole, the last couple of years. And we don't know, Scott's bumped the prices up on some of this stuff, but we don't know what our expenses are going to be going forward. This is brand new building, brand new expenses. So, I mean, it's pardon me?
Brand new equipment.
Brand new equipment. Yep. So we just don't know. And if we have a breakdown, some of the equipment has gotten so technical now, we have to call people in to service it. I mean, there's a lot of electronics involved in all of this now, camera systems and everything else. So I don't know what else we can do, but we need to generate some income.
So was the upgrade worth it, or?
Oh, absolutely.
We had to.
Absolutely.
I'm just asking.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. There was no doubt about that.
We're growing our community by what we did at the airport.
No, I'm not quite, I wanted your opinion on it. I'm not questioning.
We
that.
actually, right now, with the new formula that the FAA has come out with, I'm anticipating we'll hit about 9,000 boardings this year, and that'll bring our AIP funding up to about $1.2 million, $1.1 million.
But you can't use it for operations.
No.
No, we have to use it all.
And the problem with that is you get that grant money that costs anywhere from 5 to 10% local share. So it's a win, but it's also a lose. So.
And one of the things the FAA is looking at right now is changing that funding scale. Instead of having a 5% local and a 5% state share, they're looking at reducing that to 5% total. So it'll be 2.5 city share, 2.5 state share. So that will provide some relief too. But yeah, I guess that's the reason. And like I said, we don't know what these numbers are going to be. We're just guesstimating for the next. It could change. It could be lower, could be higher. I doubt it's going to be lower, but it could be higher. So
That's never over.
that's never lower. Yeah.
Okay, thank you, guys. So you have anything to add or nothing at this time?
Any questions before we go?
Anybody? Okay. All right, thanks, guys.
Thank you.
How's it going with the part-time?
Pretty good right now. Yeah. I wish he'd make up his mind and do one or the other. Yeah.
Oh, so we're still on
Still on the fence.
Fence?
Yeah, still on the fence, yeah.
Okay, thanks.
Thanks. I guess, when you think about, the library's getting 6 mills or able to, maybe the airport should be allowed, for what
I think
it can
it's
do
by
for the
statute,
community.
though.
It's-
Statute.
Is there,
It's by
I-
statute. The city can go up to 6 mills. We can only go up to 4
Yeah.
for the airport. And
so we
you guys-
can't do that, then, okay.
And, we've had the conversations, right? When we overtook the ARF mission, we were levying the 4 mills. And we
Yeah.
said, because we don't need, the city does not need 7 firefighters. We need
Yeah,
6.
right.
Okay, so we took on the 7th firefighter and we said, hey, what are our costs of running the fire department if we weren't conducting the ARF mission? And now we add an employee
Mhm.
and we have those additional costs. And it's, an estimated 30 hours a week or whatnot to conduct that mission. So 75% of that employee's time would be, 75% of that additional employee's time would be spent doing the ARF mission type of things. And so we should reduce our revenue contributions, the equivalent of that 75% to the airport. That's what was the understanding when we took it over. And again, this is all in the effort to keep the mills flat, right? So we had to put those 2 extra mills into the city's general
Sure.
fund to cover the cost of that extra firefighter. And that's where the reduced revenue, to include the reduce in lot fees. That's the genesis of where it comes
Yeah.
from.
I understand what we're doing, but it's just that, when they're running, the airport's a vital part of the community, and It's absolutely-
They talked at all about
how we can help them find
charging
some,
for parking out there at all?
I think
I
that's
know
been
there's
a
no
benefit
parking
of,
and it's a
We've
big
talked about it,
benefit,
but you know what? That's part of the benefit of why
Yeah.
people are coming here.
Yeah,
So.
yeah.
I mean, it doesn't have to be an extravagant amount.
I'm just trying to think through the box of what we could do to help, or,
And I think a little bit of it goes down to the conversations we've had around structure of governance at the airport.
Yeah.
The municipal airport, but all their money is held with the city. They have been operating with the city's EIN, but if they are actually separate and distinct, they need to be they should be operating with their own EIN. If they're operating their own EIN, then they need to have their own bank accounts and their own reporting and all that sort of stuff. And it opens those can of worms. And so, as I've said, there's different models of airports. There's regional airport authorities, there's municipal airport authorities, there's airports that run a city department. And between the airport authority and the city commission, we're going to have to clear up how that structure goes in a way that the bodies want to see it done. And I just know that the city has a lot of tools in our tool belt as far as revenue sources go that municipal and regional airport authorities just don't have. And I think I've said that from the beginning.
You know, and I think when we've been looking at budgets in years past and there has been that money there, people get so fixated on that money is always going to be there. And, it's not. It's not guaranteed. Like all these grants and stuff they're talking about with the library. You can't guarantee those grants are going to be there. Congress makes one decision, it gets hidden in a bill, and it changes like that without you even knowing about it until it comes time to apply. It's a hard thing to do with budgets, but can't guarantee that money's always going to be there.
okay, well, we'll move on. On to enterprise fund, what covers the water, sewer, and sanitation. Am I calling it Mike or Spencer?
I just, included kind of a summary sheet for you guys. And really, water and sewer, there's no suggested rate changes. We kept the revenue projections the same as the 2024 budget for water. And then, a little increase in the equipment maintenance line items just because the costs are going high. Reallocated where we take out some of the gas, oil, and grease. And then want to purchase some safety equipment, some shoring, and hydro excavator for the water department. So, specifically to water, Mike, Joel, anything specific to add?
Not really. It's pretty cut and dry.
You want to tell them what shoring is? Because I learned what shoring was in this process.
Mary, what's safety shoring?
That's necessary
Yeah.
safety equipment.
Yeah.
If you don't have it, you've got to have it.
We're doing a lot of our own digging now.
Oh, so you don't have, no, okay. Yeah, that's expensive stuff. But It's a safety thing,
Of course, yeah.
without it.
It's in there, yeah.
Okay.
And so the hydro excavator is offset by the waters equipment reserve, sewer, no suggested rate changes. Right now, projected revenue for sewer in 2024 is about $1 million. The fund's performing pretty well, or the revenue stream is pretty satisfactory. So budgeting that 1 million again, and then increase in the equipment maintenance and purchase of a Ford tractor offset.
Does it
by-
have to be a Ford tractor? Can it be like a John Deere, Ford?
No,
Yeah.
This tractor is
Please.
What's up
that old blue one, the
Oh, yeah?
76 model.
with the arm that,
Yeah,
Yeah.
we got rid of the arm a long time ago. We just
Yeah.
use a tractor, but
Oh.
we're gonna finally part with that and get something a little bit more maneuverable for the dike.
Is that something that's bid out or is that just decided upon within?
Yeah, it would go through a bidding process.
Okay.
Wouldn't it? Yeah, it's over the
Yeah.
required.
Yeah,
amount, so.
yeah.
The only thing I'll draw the attention to as far as the budget, we're not budgeting real healthy reserve accounts as far as extraordinary maintenance, right? We all know how expensive certain items are. If a pump goes out at the main sanitary lift station, that can be to the tune of $65,000, right?
I think that when you bring that up, that something's got to be different for that lift, that great side of things, and how we can someday fix that. That's got to be antiquated way of,
You wanna
there's
make
got to
it
be a
more
newer way.
automated?
Huh?
You want to make it more automated so people don't have to use a rake?
I would say that's a safety thing too. It's just something that I've always said that needs to be, there's a new, better way. There's got to be something out there.
So the two things that I just want to draw the attention to, if we lose a well at our water treatment or at our well field and things like that, those are extraordinary things that you just don't budget for. You have reserve accounts to cover that, right? That pump has to get replaced. The well has to work, the pumps have to work. So we do what we need to do, and then we cover the expenses with reserve accounts that we have. So I'll just bring that to your attention. As far as some of the items that you're talking about. for
If
that
any one of
meeting,
these went to look at that, they would just not believe what we're doing.
So
I really don't think you would.
as part of our capital improvement plan, we have the
You
as part of the
You
capital
should.
improvement plan, we have a major, the roadways, the things that we've been working on to try and get done. And then we have another list, Ford lift station improvements, main
Yeah.
lift station improvements. I mean, some of the, at Ford lift station, for instance, I'll tell you that much of the equipment in there is dated 1978,
Mhm.
but it's like my old Toyota pickup. It just runs and it works. And if you put in something brand new, you have a lot more electronics, a lot more things that can fail when you have little glitches in the electricity coming in. And so there's a lot of redundancy there. You have generator to back up some of the power. You have motors, physical motors that are 1978, but they're old John Deere diesels that work very well, that can run in case all of town doesn't have power. But a lot of that stuff is old, and the day comes where you have to adjust, retrofit, and change. So that's all part of the capital
Yeah.
improvement, not necessarily in this budget.
Right. But they got to make a grinder pump that's huge enough to take care of
They
something.
do, we can look into it.
I just think it's a total safety thing. That ladder that's in there, that's been in there from the day they built that. And
You still
that's a
have to-
rust.
You still have to go down and maintain that because it'd be hydraulic grinder and stuff.
Yeah. Yeah.
I'm sure nobody at the shop would disagree with you at all.
A muffin monster, that's what they
Yeah.
call those
I
grinders.
think each commissioner should have the pleasure of going visit that site.
Part-time employees, I think, volunteer basis, they get to rotate, somebody on a Monday, somebody.
I
on a
won't get
Tuesday.
into the gory details, but anyway, we'll move on from that.
As Mike was saying about that capital improvement, about having like an extra pump on hand for the other side. Let's say lightning strike or something that burns them out. It takes months to get one of those. I hurt to look into maybe having one on hand in case.
And how much is something like that?
I think that's what Mike was saying about the capital improvement stuff.
Oh,
Yeah, they're
yeah.
about 65 grand. But they were all redone 28, 17, 18, with
Yeah.
bearings and things,
Yeah.
but it is we're very fortunate. I mean, that pipe that went in out there, a lot of the infrastructure that we're dealing with is 70 years old, but it still works well. Pretty
It's one of
fortunate.
those peace of minds. You never know what are the odds of all three pumps going out. Minimal to none, but what happens?
Large lightning strike will do it.
What happens if it happens and you don't have anything ready to go?
That's, yeah. Any questions?
I would Also an opportunity to talk about maybe some things that are going on in your department if you want to, but I guess I would just also, while we have Mike and Joel here, just a huge gratitude to them, they've got things really under control there in the water and the sewer department. And we've got the benefit of having a lot of long-term employees in the water and sewer department where they've got all their certifications, and there's, you go to League of Cities sort of things, and there's a lot of communities that are scratching their head trying to get people certified and find that right workforce. And I think we've got a really good balance of veteran and new employees in the water and sewer department that are jiving well. And there is one opening, and so if anybody wants to join a really good team, there's one out there.
Even
Start
part-time
over.
in the summer will help.
I started in that area that we're just talking about. So, like I said, I went 30 feet in the ground and came up to the top.
I can surely get some prices and give them a swipe and show you guys what, I know what he's talking about.
I really like to see something. I really do, because I don't know when we can, but we should have that in our plan.
Yeah, there's,
I-
all the lift stations have improvement items within the capital improvement plan.
I think we need to look at that, go away and have something more modernized.
Is that a technology type thing?
No, it's just a
No.
big, it's going to require about a 24-inch grinder pump, I would say. Is that about what size is the pipe, or is it?
Yeah, it would lay on that rack and it would have, like, you can't crusher type of deal, you see it where there's big
I
two
mean,
rollers.
It's
It just
it's got to be a tough type of
turns out
pump,
grease and everything else.
because there's a lot of stuff that goes through there.
Everybody would,
Could be bed sheets or pillowcases or.
right now you rake it and you bring it up to 5-gallon buckets and put it in the transfer station.
To me, that sounds like a safety thing.
It is a safety thing.
Sounds like a
If you don't think I'm,
ergonomic grant or technology grant through workforce safety, maybe.
even if we get part of it paid for that way.
That's what it would be part of it.
Anyway, that's one of the things I'd like to see happen. Only because it is a safety. I mean, gas is down there besides, we don't have technology, we don't have gas meters there to detect it, and I don't think they wear them, do they, when they go down there? They should probably.
We have them.
Yeah, that's not good
It's
when
got
there's,
blowers.
Yeah.
You can blow it. That doesn't.
you got to use them.
We do use them, but that still doesn't.
Yeah.
Make sure it is,
Mhm.
it's still.
Anyway, we'll move on.
Mayor, members of the commission, if you guys want to start talking about sanitation, Commissioner Hash and Mayor, we had a meeting the other day. I had told you, if you want to pick a department and the service that the city offers that you're going to be talking about probably for the next 2 to 3 years, often it's garbage and it's sanitation. There are a series of rate increases that are suggested, 5% increase on roll-offs, projected $10,000 revenue increase with that. Base rate change from 12 to 13, which is an additional $30,000 in revenue. Volume charge from $11.50 per cubic yard to $12. It's a $45,000 increase. And then special pickup base change from $22 to $25,000, or $25 would be $2,500. Total additional revenue projected $88,000, despite those rate projections or those rate increases and the projected revenue increases. Still looking at going backwards, $20,000 in the sanitation fund this year, or for 2025 with what's put before you. And really the biggest driver of that is the recycling program. Right now we pay about $100,000 to Lake Region Corp to provide that service. And in past years, there was a market for recyclables and you could get 70 grand or 60 grand out of it. And so when you're spending 100 and you're kind of subsidizing it about 30 grand, you end up making 25, 30 grand at the end of the year, and it works. But when there is no market and you're taking the full $100,000, going backwards and not receiving any revenue to offset what you're doing, that's the difference between making 30 and losing 30. And so that's a huge driver as to what we're doing. And these rate increases are probably in the effort to subsidize that program through other sources. And then also too, we're looking at the automation. So what we have in this budget is $300,000 for a new truck, of which we'll pay with cash, and then whatever the remaining for the truck and extra cans, should we get this low interest loan from the USDA, expecting that first payment would come in 2026, and so it's not seen there. Mike, Corey, I think you guys are probably the best to take it on from here. But just a few other things: increased equipment maintenance line item from 50 to 60, and then moved kind of where we're buying our roll-offs from, moved that to the inert disposal section versus the transfer station. But if you guys have questions on the sanitation, again, like I said, the recycling is probably the biggest reflector as to why the budget is the way it is. And I don't know if you want to talk about the market for recyclables, the most previous conversations you've had, what that looks like for the next 2-3 years.
Well, if you don't know the history on our recycling in the city, it started in 1994 when we closed our municipal landfill down. And the purpose for it was to lower the people's volume of garbage to save them money. So we offered a free recycling program. And when that started years ago, our source of getting rid of our materials was a direct source through a paper mill. And, for the most part, cardboard and paper were our biggest materials, or most materials we collected. And we'd sell that to a place called West Rock out of St. Paul. So you're selling the material directly to the end user, the people that were going to recycle it and produce stuff out of paper pulp. And we did that up to November of 22. A big company came in and bought this paper mill out. Well, then they closed it. So it was a huge paper mill. I think that had 400 employees, and it took in materials from like the surrounding 4 states. So when this happened, it was like a major disruption. I mean, I've known all the people throughout the state that I've dealt with over the years that recycle. I mean, they were calling me, I was calling them. What are we going to do with it now? Here, I don't know if you noticed up at our shop, but 2 winters ago, we had 400 bales stockpiled.
I was going to ask you, where's all this?
Which
going
we
now?
ended up getting rid of after loss of contamination from being outside, like the bottom row. We ended up selling like 300 out of them 4. So we salvaged a lot of time and effort and money that went into it. But after that paper mill closed, like I said, I called around, I talked to a gal out of Fargo, out of Minn Kota Recycling. She's like the state's recycling guru. And of course, everyone who's called her and asked, what am I going to do? Do you have a source to get rid of the recyclables? She told everyone you shouldn't put all your eggs in one basket, meaning we shouldn't have been depending on West Rock. Well, we've been with them since 94, and things were just great, because we had a lot of years that, we'd end up in the black, and there was years we'd end up in the red, but, overall average, but these last 2 years, now we have to broker materials. And counting all those bales I was telling you about, plus all the ones we've produced since then, between paper's getting to be a smaller commodity because everyone's going to e-communication or, emails, and you have a lot less, you don't have newspapers anymore, So anyway, between just the cardboard and the paper alone in the last 9 months, when I got working with this new broker, we've sold like 1.5 million pounds of it. And I was looking at the financials for June, and what was the number? I mean, it's very minute. Though the whole issue with it is the end users that use it now, they're so far away from here that the cost of transportation, and then you got to pay the brokering fee. So I think the people we deal with now are out of St. Cloud, but then they broker it and then it goes to another state. I think they go out to the East Coast. So by the time you get all that expense done and give him his money for doing it, I think we were getting maybe $100 for every 40,000 pounds. I mean, it's great.
You're getting rid of it though.
Yeah, it's great. It's not getting put in our transfer station and hauled to Grand Forks with all that expense. So you got to kind of look at that too for money's sake. But even with that, plus the curbside pickup contract we have, it's just basically Spencer and I and Mike want to let you know that right now, and it's looking like it's going to be not that different in the far future, that it's really not a money-making thing. I mean, as a matter of fact,
It's not even a break even thing. It's a lose.
well, that first year since November of 22,
Yeah.
you know, we went in the hole because you couldn't get rid of it. And then you ended up having a lot of it get contaminated. And
How's the other recyclables doing? You know, the glass and the plastic and.
glass, the state had a program where you could pay a bunch of money to ship it. You actually, the only way to get rid of it was it cost you money. So you spent money collecting it, and you could send it off to Minnesota again, and they'd have the stuff crushed, and then they'd tumble it and they'd make like landscaping material out of it. But then that died out. But the state health department told me, well, don't stop collecting it because it could get going again. Well, so right now, you know, those recycling bins we have up at our shop, you've seen them, the closed top ones. It actually takes 7-8 months. You know, there ain't a lot of glass products that are used anymore. So if we have no source for it, we just throw it in the landfill. Fortunately, we can put it in our landfill for no cost. Of course, it takes up space, but in the course of 7-8 months, you have, you know, 25 cubic yards of uncrushed glass that once you get it in the landfill and crush it, you know, it virtually takes no space up. But it's one of them deals too. And like I was told from the state health department, if you keep starting and stopping something with the public, they get so confused that pretty soon they just won't do it, you know.
My question is, they don't respect the rules out there to begin with.
Well, that's another issue, and it's getting worse.
And it's starting to irritate the hell out of me.
I
I take
mean-
pictures of it, and put it up online. It says no bags, it says nothing, and you open it up and look inside these things.
Well, in all honesty, even like any of those containers up there, at some point you got to consider them contaminated. And when I mean contaminated, we're talking about his stuff with the grate and all that. I mean, there's people that'll throw a winter's worth of dog feces in there. I mean, or they'll throw diapers in there.
Yeah.
Well, you can't expect us to wallow through
So
that.
my question is the convenience for the community to be able to do this worth the hassle?
In all honesty, I don't know. It's up to you guys whether you want a program that don't support itself. And
Well,
I mean, we're doing it to try to do the right thing, but at some point
Well,
you
that's the
gotta
whole
look
thing.
at.
That's what the public perspective is right now. It's the right thing to do.
I think
But
there's
like-
a couple
You know.
things with it. You know, we contract with Lake Region Corporation, right? And so with Lake Region Corporation, you're employing folks that are able to, you know, be part of the community and perform a function. We don't, some communities will, if you want to recycle, you pay to recycle, right? So you're paying a fee on your bill to recycle. We don't do that. I won't say that the costs for it are hidden, if you want to say it that way, within your sanitation bill, but it's not a separate recycle. Now, the market can go up and down. The vast majority of the recycle, honestly, is cardboard, right? That's where the vast majority, if you look at the tons, and that's the volume. It seems like you're always going to have cardboard because when you buy that chair, you buy that stove, you buy whatever, you have to be able to get rid of the cardboard. You can't put it out in the garbage. So you have to have a way. Now, someday we'll probably have a conversation about curbside recycling, whether or not there may be a transition where if Lake Region Corporation and the city can't reach an agreement at some future time on a contract on what we're paying for curbside, potentially the curbside recycling could go away. But you would still then have the collection. But the vast majority of the collection is cardboard. And you have to facilitate people when you're buying something, and everybody's buying stuff on Amazon. You know, for whatever reason, we had a conversation about Amazon.
Well, that's
Planet Push
what
this morning.
I was gonna, my comment was gonna be, okay, if we just went cardboard and went away from all the other stuff, because we're not making any, I mean, it's not balancing out in the end. And just do, like for the dirt and the trees and stuff like that, what do you guys, is that just reused within the city and taken care of, or how?
The only way you could reuse trees is buy a very expensive tub grinder.
Yeah.
And then you could grind and you could give away landscaping, you know,
So,
mulch.
like, right now, though, what do you guys do? Just
Right now, it's
go to
a-
landfill?
Fireman training site. The deal is we're governed by the state health department on everything we do in the sanitation. Well, what they used to do is they'd give you you'd apply for a 30-day burn variance, and you could only burn, trees. You couldn't burn pellets. You couldn't burn anything wood, just trees. But it was getting so hard to get one of those burn variances, and real hard. And you were involved with it.
Mhm.
Well, this actually saved the city's hide. We came up with along with the shade tree program when we were trying to get rid of the elm disease trees, which the only way you can is burn them. You don't want to grind them and use them. You want to burn them. That's the only way to get rid of the disease. Well, Jim and I kind of worked together years ago, and we got that city site out south of Max, and it's a burn site area. So now, thank God that we have that place to go to, because I get trees, 10 months out of the year. You've seen those big 40-yard brown boxes that sit up there that we load. Last year, we hauled out 190 of those. And keep in mind, when you pick these loose trees up, you're packing them in that box. So it's a large volume of trees. But we have no issue with it as long as we have our training area to burn them. But getting back to the recycling, you're talking about materials and all that. The aluminum cans we've always sold to Anheuser-Busch out of somewhere in Arkansas. I think Muscle Shoals, Arkansas. But the thing is, aluminum cans, when they're compressed into a bale, and by the time you get 38 bales to make a semi-load, it takes a year and a half. It's just, we accumulate a lot in volume, but once you break it, get it confined into a bale, it's just, we talked about this, that we wanted to present it to you guys to have you clearly know that what's going on with it. It's not the normal years we've had where it's good, some years, some bad. It's
Last year you came to us and you were having issues last year.
And I searched long and hard, and I know a lot of people from over the years working with the stuff on how to get rid of it, how to broker it. It was to the point, if we could keep it out of the landfill and let the people keep giving it to us, and it didn't cost the city any money, just to cover the transportation costs. I was trying to get people to see if they wanted it, and it just. And then I was talking with, right before Spencer called me yesterday on the phone, I was on the phone with the broker. He was begging for more loads of cardboard because he said the market's going to go down. And I said, well, how can it go down any further? Well, meaning if we have loads of cardboard again, we may end up having to pay to get rid of them on top of the process we did to make them. And that's why we had the 400 bales outside. I just thought that's insane if we have to give people money to do it. At that point, it's.
Where we're at right now, I think, we're going through a process of the automated truck review, putting together the paperwork. As far as next year's budget, it seems like it's laid out before you as continuing the recycling program. After next year, we'll be in a position where I would expect that we'd be transitioning into an automated system. That's going to be a change, right? That's going to be a significant change for everybody as part of that entire process. And that may change. Corey's been doing a very good job of tracking our recyclable materials by item over a period of time. I think you're going to see, we would expect that a portion of those waste streams, of that recycled stream, is going to diminish even more. People right now I'm only going to pay for one 32-gallon can. I'm not paying for two. And so you have some people out there that are, some people recycle for their own reasons. Some do it to save money, right? So they're recycling everything to get by with one can. Some have to recycle to get by with two cans. As soon as we transition and we start talking about a 164-gallon can and maybe a 96-gallon can, we start that process. We may see a shift in the recycling even more. We'll have conversations with Lake Region Corporation as far as curbside. They're doing, what's the year of their truck that they're grabbing? 1990.
They bought that truck in 94.
Jeez.
And they've offered to buy Rodney a new truck to update it. He don't want it. But he's a maintenance wizard. He takes care of it. Just shows how long stuff lasts.
I know
You're dealing with the gentleman there in Rodney. Hats off to that guy. He's dealing in very hazardous situations with people that have mobility disabilities. And I think his safety record is unbelievable. Now, I don't know Rodney's age. I don't know if he's going to do it another 20 years.
No,
He's not
He's
able to.
He's retiring next fall.
So
Well,
that's
yes,
gonna
you're gonna
That's
miss
gonna be
him.
another thing.
You're gonna miss him.
We will
Very
never
much
find
so.
another Rod.
Are you gonna find another guy like that?
No,
Probably
not even close.
Because in
So
all
there's gonna be a
honesty,
transition.
the city originally contracted with Lake Region Corp to do the curbside pickup. Well, you see the pickup schedule. They go out 3 days a week, 1 week, and then 2, and then just keep going back and forth. Well, in all honesty, unless the contracts changed, they wouldn't have to be up at our shop feeding that baler every day, that they're not on the truck, and that's what they do. So,
Yeah, I just-
So that's helpful too.
we wouldn't have the manpower. There's just no way.
Yeah, you get the patience of Rodney to work with, that's huge in itself.
I'm not saying there's not other people out there like him that could do it, but trying to find them.
It's gonna be tough.
And I should mention that knowing we were gonna talk about this months ago, I talked with Waste Management. They approached the city, I think it was prior to your,
Been 3 years
Three-
ago, maybe,
three,
3,
4
4
years.
years ago.
they approached the city, and at the time, things weren't going bad, so we didn't really think about changing. But I ended up calling them, and I made it clear with them. I said, now, I know you approached the city, we weren't interested, but what would you have to offer? Because I knew when we got to budget time here, you'd want to, maybe have an alternate solution. And so he was I gave him all my numbers, I gave him what we do. I told him everything I could, and he was gonna go back and see if he could come up with something. See, because Waste Management's huge with recycling too, like worldwide huge. I mean, they're so big, they own paper mills, they own, they broker millions and billions of dollars every year throughout the year with recyclables. So he was gonna come back with me on that, and he said it was gonna be 4 to 6 weeks, and right now it's been dozens of weeks, but I'm gonna try to get back to him again. But I'm not guessing, but what they do is that they do, it's called single stream recycling. It's where you get a tote like you would like a garbage can tote, and they throw every different type of recycling in one can, and then they have a center, and I think they have one in Bismarck and one in Grand Forks, where they haul this mixed recyclables together there. And then they have this huge facility where you got magnets and conveyor belts and 15, 20 people, and they dump this container full, and then they sort it there. And that's what they do here. So, if the city ever thought the recycling program just wasn't working anymore and someone their size would take over, that would still be an option for the citizens. But of course, it would cost something, and that's what I wanted to get the information to kind of put in your head what it would cost. But
No, I'm glad you're looking into the future, because it's not enough of that looking long-term.
well, that and the only little pickle he thought they'd have is, because I told him we get a lot of our cardboard from like businesses. I mean, there's constantly, we have a dumpster route that we just pick cardboard up that we offer the businesses and whoever, but it's mostly businesses that take it. And I mean, we go out twice a week, Tuesdays and Fridays, and you pick up anywhere from, I'd say 30 or 35, 40 dumpsters. You have 2 routes a week. And we use that a lot. And then there's a lot of businesses that utilize our 24-hour drop off.
And the bars utilize that.
And he just didn't know what they could do for that. And I mean, so maybe in some case, after we get all the information, maybe a guy can continue with the cardboard. Because that's more of a steady use of a recyclable than all the others. And then maybe if people want to, offer to let Waste Management in with their single stream.
Commissioner Pierce just offered you a little bit of therapy related to your comment about seeing a disaster. You have to remember that there's literally hundreds and thousands of people using our recycling. And the vast majority use it properly and do a good job.
That's what I always said to Mike when we're doing this analysis. Mike came up with, it would affect our municipal waste stream probably 5%, you thought? But the problem here is we're up to probably 30% waste from the total amount we take in. That's work and cost to get rid of. So I don't think the automated truck's gonna affect our recycling, only in the way that
the vast majority of people use the system the way it's intended.
Oh, for
You
sure.
know, there are people, and the problem is when you have somebody that they're not just given their own contamination, they contaminate everything when they do that.
That's- see,
It's-
that's-
it's frustrating when you see that,
It's the
but it's
human animal, you're gonna have that.
And the
it's
thing
a
is,
small
the thing is,
percentage of the
over the
people that
years,
are
we've
actually
put
using it.
more cameras in.
Yeah.
And in my mind, we spent a lot of money on them cameras, and I've always said, we gotta use these if we have them well.
You got fined.
That turns into a full-time job for me. I gotta figure out what time of day that stuff was put in there. So you're sitting there on the camera watching. Once you find it, then you gotta find the right camera to catch the license plate. And I contact the police department, which has been very good with working with me. Well, then once I do that, over the years, I've been doing one courtesy call where you say, hey, I see you're on the camera, did this, blah, blah, blah. And I don't just say, don't do it again. I say, well, do you want to come back and get the stuff? Of course, they don't like that, but after that, the only convictions we've ever really done for misuse of stuff is at the landfill.
People see the signage up there about the fine that can be done, but if a fine's not implemented, then it's just writing.
All right. Well, it helped though to have, either I'd do a courtesy call, and if they wouldn't really cooperate with you, I'd ask if whoever the chief was at the time. I know Joe did it a few times. Jason hasn't yet, but I'd have them call. If you have a law enforcement call, maybe that'd give them a little bit of a scare, But I hate to get off track.
We're way off track.
But you do need to know aware of the recycling deal.
Really, I mean, it's the difference between making 40 and losing 30.
Right.
And right now we're in losing 30 mode, and the balance of sanitation's reserves versus what we spend, it's at that 28%, and we want that at 30, right? And so if you think about, like I told you, the mayor, we're talking, landfill, expanding and permitting, those sorts of things, looking at the automation and getting new cans. We've talked about special pickup, we're doing special pickup twice a year. We have to have a conversation whether we want to continue it at that frequency. And obviously with this recycling program and what it's doing to the sanitation's budget. So like I said, the next year, 2, 3, probably a lot of talk on garbage and a sanitation department realignment a little bit on how we do everything. And so,
in my opinion, with spring and fall cleanup, and I've been doing it for a long time. It started off, it's just like recycling. You have your honest people that utilize it the way you should, but it's getting to be.
I do like it because if we didn't do it, what do you think the area would look like? How would it'd be just laying around and it would just.
I don't think we should not do it. I think we should do it once a year. And I don't know if you listen to the news or watch the news on the TV, but there's actually other cities that are going from the few that are left that do it twice a year. They're going down to once a year. To me, once a year would be. Mike and I have done the numbers, and what do you get per year? Well, this last spring pickup we did was.
It was the most expensive one
Was it
we've
70?
ever done. This spring was 70.
Yeah.
If you include the costs, all of our costs associated with putting.
That's
things
quite a
together,
gift to the community, isn't it? Yeah.
Well, and that's half.
Yeah.
Part of the issue that you have to look at is, okay, who's taking advantage of it, what's happening, and then it's a service, but we also offer free dump Saturdays.
Oh, we have.
And so if you have a truck, you have an able-bodied in a back, you can haul your material that you have to get rid of, and it still isn't costing you anything. How many people out there don't have a truck? How many people don't have an able body and they still have stuff to get rid of?
Lots.
That's the people you're really facilitating. But we have to understand what the expense is. So that expense, if we're talking to the tune of, $50,000 to $70,000 per time, that's what it's costing us to do it if we're doing that special pickup.
My suggestion on that free dump Saturday stuff and the schedule for the dump. When I was looking for, you told me it's on the calendar, but I went directly to the site that talked about sanitation. And I'm reading through everything on there and it says there's nothing listed there. People aren't going to sit and click and click and click and click to find stuff. If you click sanitation, it should be right there saying free dump Saturdays are these dates.
It is if you open the the calendar.
But
portion of it.
I'm saying, people aren't gonna click it.
But trust me, they utilize it. But yeah, they're.
Or am I just that lazy that I didn't do it?
You answered your own question.
Yes, I did.
That can be looked at.
But like Mike said with the cleanup, you know, us going around once a year would help support the people that aren't able to haul stuff any further than their house to the alley. I understand that.
Yeah.
I don't want to get rid of it, but I'm the guy in the skid steer. I have been for 30 years now, and every year it's getting worse. I mean, there's people that have 4 washers go bad at once. There's people that have 5 grills go bad at once. I mean, come on.
Yeah.
I got people
Right.
coming down my alley, dumping everything out of the Tupperware bins that we
Yeah.
put stuff into the alley and then taking the bins and leaving everything in the alley.
Oh, it's got so bad, honestly, and I'm not saying it's the world's ending, but I've had a lot of issues with people stealing Blue City bags out of the alleys to the point where all I can do is tell the
Or they
public.
dump the garbage of the other person and take their, oh my.
Well, either that or, you know,
They're taped to the TV.
yeah,
They're
to
taped.
tape it. Well, they dump garbage out too.
What the heck?
I mean, it's got so bad. My answer to the public when they call is, I just recommend don't putting it out till the night before or that morning. But isn't that sad?
Yeah, it is. Okay, we better move on. Rates and fees,
I
nothing
just,
on,
I
just
think we just kind of talked about
talked
those.
about it, okay.
And we'll lay them out at a future meeting. I guess, you know, Mayor, if ready, we probably need a third meeting.
Okay.
Go over capital improvement plan, equipment replacement plan, maybe another look at the general fund, because given all the feedback on the airport library, all that sort of stuff.
Okay.
We'll fine tune things, but you know, the Thursdays at 11:30, the last 2, I don't know if that's a good time for you guys. Do you want to try that for next Thursday?
Send it out, because I don't have my planner in front of me. I don't know.
That'd be the first, right?
Be the
Works for
first
me.
of August.
Then we would seek preliminary approval on that.
That should work.
Okay.
I'll send an invite out.
good.
I'll make
But,
it.
any questions on what they said? And I guess I would just, but thank you, appreciate it. And if the process and the information isn't being communicated in ways that you want to communicate it, please let us know and we'll adapt our presentations to meet you guys' needs.
So it sucks there, Spencer. You need to.
Okay, if there's no other business to come before the commission, meeting adjourned. And I believe you have